a whole new theme song. Did you hear that? Pretty cool, huh? And it's a whole new week, and it's time for a whole new conversation about the dungeon run and D&D in general. I'm your host, Trisha Hershberger, and I am holding court for the next hour or so, talking with some of your favorite characters. Caffeine is the place to get a real-time live-streamed look into your favorite game, the Dungeon Run. Tonight we'll be joined by two of our favorites. You know them as Civ and Fahima, Jared Kjack and Jessica Lynn Parsons. So be sure to give me your burning questions, and who knows, Jared and Jessica could have an answer for you live on the show. It's been a whole 6 days since the last episode of Dungeon Run. Now, it wouldn't be right not to freshen you up on a few moments from the last adventure, so take a look at this.
Very quickly, like a time-lapse video, it goes... and the little petals erupt out of it.
I lean forward and I smell the future, or the past.
And as you do, take a big inhale. And your mind is filled, immediately transported. It's like, bah, like that, and you're like, you smell garbage.
Am I saying it right? Can you ask me if I'm saying it right?
Is that right?
What?
Should we use
Here-ish?
pretzels to market?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretzels is fun.
Like
From
here?
the
I
restaurant.
worked so hard to make something that looks so cool. It's so ugly. Jessica, it hurts my heart. It's so blue before it gets black. That moment, everyone turns and makes eye contact with everyone else, and there's an unspoken resolve.
I'm going to stand next to Lily and say, if things go poorly, you get your family out of here.
Lily steps forward, pulls up her flute, and the rest of Bengal joins in. Her sisters, her grandmother, and you feel it inside you, a rousing heroism. Let's roll initiative.
I was going to say, we need to split.
That was so much epicness in one pre-battle scene between the sunset and the flute song and then creatures coming out. Oh my goodness, I can't get enough of it. You know what? Let's just get straight into it. So I am joined today by Civ Red Thistle, Jared Kjack, and Fahima Tig, Jessica Lynn Parsons. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us on.
Yeah, so before we get into last episode's adventure, did you guys hear our new theme song for the Dungeon Rundown? Pretty
No.
fancy, huh?
I heard a piece of it.
I haven't heard it.
Nice. It's much more jazzy.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we're a little more free and fun on the rundown, I guess. So the theme song goes with it. Perfect, right? Okay, so last week's episode, huh?
Yeah, it was intense.
It's a big one.
Pretty crazy. Do either of you have a favorite moment from last week's episode?
Well, I think you just played it, the whole flute moment where they
Oh,
were
yeah,
all
that
playing
was
in
good.
unison. It took every fiber of my being not to start to tear up.
Why didn't you?
I don't know, because
Why are you stopping that magic from happening?
Civ is not, he keeps it close to the vest. Like
Okay,
he's not gonna
whatever.
break down and cry.
Jared can cry. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll happen at some point.
I think lots of people would love to see that. So at some point, the hard shell might be broken. So Fahima,
Yeah.
for you?
Probably the flute moment as well. Yeah, but
Yeah?
I just liked the fire wall in general and kind of ticking off Jeff with that pretzel, with the pretzel and gummy thing.
What made you think, you know what? Pretzels, this is the way to go.
Well, okay, so we're not using theater of the mind. We have a map, so I want to make sure that Jeff and I both know exactly where my flame is going because I want them to burn.
Well, and you don't want any miscommunication later should you be strategizing, but you were picturing something different
Yeah.
than Jeff was picturing. It is just so funny because one of the things that this show is so well known for is the elaborate props and
Right.
minis and awesome maps. And then, you know what, let's just put some pretzels on.
I'm sorry.
I think she had a good point. I mean, anytime you have a home game,
Yeah.
that's the kind of stuff that you got to do.
Yeah.
So I liked it. I thought it was.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yep, pretty good. So viewers are already online and excited to get the conversation going. So folks, feel free to put your questions out there and we'll see what we've got. Oh man, I see a real juicy one from Sean Patrick and I'm like, do we want to get into that right now? I mean, I guess.
Depends. Who's it for? Is it for Jared or me? That'll determine if we're gonna get into it.
It's for Jared.
Okay, I think we
but
know what it is.
What do you think it is, Jessica?
Love triangle.
It sure is. So from Sean Patrick, Jared, how does Civ feel about the Civ Lily Uggo situation?
Yeah. I don't know. I've been thinking about it a lot lately, like way more than I should. And thank you for laughing at that.
We have one off-camera laugh.
It's tough because it happened very organically. I liked what Lily was doing. I was very moved when she would write these songs and sing these songs.
Yeah.
And honestly, it came from a place of like, I want to be a part of that. And I'm not a singer. I, like in real life, can't hold a tune.
Right, we were talking about that just off
Yeah.
camera, that you've done theater, but not musical theater.
Correct.
Right.
Lots of Shakespeare, not so much, yeah, there's no Fiddler on the Roof.
Okay.
Anyways, I was like, how can I be a part of that? How can I encourage that? How can I incorporate that into the storytelling? And I was like, well, I love poetry. And when I chose to be a swashbuckler as my archetype, I thought, what better way to incorporate that than to start to sneak in some Cyrano de Bergerac, which is essentially what Civ is becoming slowly, without the nose, of course. And so that's where the poetry came from.
Explain to our viewers what that means if they're not familiar with Cyrano de Bergerac.
Well, I think it's a book and a play. I just know the play, but it's a famous swordsman, French swordsman, who writes these amazing, amazing poems about war, about love, about life. And he starts to fall in love with this woman, but because he has this ugly schnoz, he doesn't feel like he's attractive enough to essentially win her over. And there's some interesting moments that happen where there's a young love interest where that person doesn't know anything about poetry. And so he essentially becomes the voice of that lover. And so through those poems, he's able to express himself to this love of his life. And nothing is really discovered until towards the end of the play, where they're at war, and Cyrano finally, reveals himself, and they have like a brief moment of romance, not even really that, and then things go south, and he gets wounded, and then they kind of pass forward to him being much older in this like almost like a convalescent home or something, and his biggest loss is that he hid it for so long, and then he gives one last epic poem and then dies, and then they show there's a whole nother. I could go on about this for a long time.
It's a really good play for
It's
people who haven't
phenomenal.
seen it.
It's phenomenal.
And there's been a lot of spin-off material created from
Yeah.
it. So are you kind of insinuating that you might be helping Uggo? I mean, did Civ really write Uggo's Orcish love poem?
No, that's all wrong. I don't want to take any of his thunder away
Okay.
from him. No, what I'm insinuating is that it came out of a very organic place, and I legitimately started to, in character, of course, fall for Lily. She was the one that essentially snapped me out of my funk when I thought I was cursed. And her and Morgan were the ones that saved me when I fell off of the Pegasus thing. I feel like I'm talking a lot here. I apologize.
Yeah, will you shut up already?
Oh, don't
here
worry.
too.
It'll be Jessica's turn soon.
Yeah. So, long story short, he, legitimately loves her, and that's why he stayed in this ridiculously dangerous scenario for so long. And I was
Right.
telling the truth when I was talking to James, when he was like challenging me, so to speak, in the belly of the ship.
Right.
Yeah. Jared knows that he does not want the awkwardness level to get to a point to where it starts to ruin the game, so to speak. And so I would put a stop to it at that point if it ever got there, but I don't think it's going to. I don't think Ron or I or Katie would ever let that happen.
How would it get awkward? I mean, maybe I do want to see that.
I'm sure some people do. I don't know. I mean, maybe if there was like a really strong competition, or if there was a moment in the fight where, Civ and Uggo normally always have each other's back because we're both the martial fighters of the group, so to speak. And if, all it would take is one step away from that and somebody would get mauled pretty quickly. To give it a dark turn.
Yeah, and I feel like it did get pretty awkward at the moment when Uggo revealed his orcish love poem, and then we all realized Civ could speak orc.
Right. And I'm sure that was intentional.
Whoa.
Did you not realize that, Jessica?
That went over my head.
Oh, man.
Well, just because he was translating it in real time, so I didn't even really pause to think about that, but that's a good point.
Yeah. So we can look forward to more awkward moments like that, mayhaps. Let's see, Fat Papa Power here asks a simple one for Jared. Can we expect more Civ poetry?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay,
In fact,
good.
I have a birthday gift for Fahima that I can read now or...
Now on the show?
Yeah.
Okay, Jessica, when was your birthday?
It was on Sunday.
Okay, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Everyone in chat, happy birthday to Jessica. And do you have the
Yeah, it's right here.
Oh my gosh.
How special.
It's a Dungeon Rundown exclusive.
It sure is.
All right. So I imagine this being something that I would fold up and slip into your book so that at some point when you're flipping through the pages, you would find this.
Okay, so when we play tomorrow, will I had already found this?
No, it would probably be after the fight. I don't see you reading
Oh,
this
right.
in the middle
That'd be
of
weird,
it.
going through my spell
What is this
book.
note that I found? Yeah. Or you can find it whenever you want. That'd be
Okay.
kind of a fun moment where you're just like, oh, hey, I found your note.
Okay.
Okay. Fire on the Wind, a poem in prose by Civ Redthistle. Embers burn in shadow dark. 'Twas lost, buried, cast away. Ghost of flames lost to time. Heart pierced, stone split. Until born the smokeless flame. His dark veil, now inferno. Fear devoured. In Ra's mighty gaze, power flickers, dances, crackles. Candles, now liquid wax in jealous presence. Birds sing your name on sun-dappled wings. Fahima of the wild fire, she who burns the wind, forever at our side, the light in the void.
That was so nice.
Oh my goodness, yay!
Wow.
Beautiful.
Why would Civ have written this for her?
Happy
why is-
birthday, Jessica.
Why is she so nice to her?
I think it's because, at one point you said, and I don't know if you were in character or not, but you said, how come you're always writing poems for Lily and not for anyone else? So that was one reason. The other reason is I think out of anybody in the group, I think you get the most flack for choosing who you are, your character that is, over anything. Like role-playing Fahima. And Fahima has this heart of gold who always wants to save everybody. And that's tough when we're in a pretty rough situation and you're surrounded by people like Civ and Uggo who would just as soon as crush something or stab something than talk to it.
That is one of the things that has been one of my greatest weaknesses and greatest strengths as a D&D player is I often have that problem where I play my characters so strongly in the first person that it can annoy my fellow players sometimes, and there's always a line, of course. But then, of course, it is a strength because you're making that's the idea. You're making choices as your character.
Totally.
So, and it's always interesting. I just try to make the most interesting choice.
I don't think you have to defend yourself.
Okay. I don't think
All
you
right.
do too. Is there a specific moment you can call back to right now that that you felt in that situation?
Whenever I see reactions, negative reactions to Fahima saving monsters or not going for the kill right away, that used to make me self-conscious. But Morgan gave me a beautiful gift in one of the games where he asked her and he confronted her about that. And so I had a chance to explain why. And so I don't feel as self-conscious anymore because my character has explained.
Awesome. Well, speaking of your characters, the Dungeon Rundown isn't just talking about the game and what happens in the game. It's also a place where viewers can learn more about the characters that they love. So, Jared and Jessica, I always like to kind of kick the show off with a little bit of an icebreaker. So, can you tell us what Fahima and Civ carry in their knapsacks that maybe no one would know about? Maybe it's the specific type of snack, or an extra shilling in case of emergencies. What do you guys carry around?
Well, I can say that in Fahima's spell book that she always has on her as a wizard, there's always sketches here and there of monsters that she's encountered. And I really want to make that happen in real life. I really want to actually sketch some monsters, but I have to sit down and do it.
Fahima's own monster manual.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
I think that'd be great because it would be all the positive aspects of all the monsters. And none of the negative ones.
A little bitey, might snarl,
Yeah.
ouchie.
Could poison you, but means well.
Yeah.
No, that's good. Something that Civ's been carrying since childhood is something that was left with him when he was abandoned at a young age, which is a red thistle. And he actually doesn't know his real name. This is something that I told Lord Ereban a while back.
Whoa.
He doesn't know really anything about himself. He just remembers being left in an alleyway with a red thistle flower. And so he's kept it all this time pressed, between a couple of pages of paper, just to kind of remember where he came from.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a big drop of drama right there.
New info for me too.
Civ Red Thistle. Well, I feel like there's always a bit of an exclusive for people that watch Dungeon Rundown, that you get a little more than meets the eye in the traditional dungeon run. So there you go. That's absolutely crazy. Okay, well, while we talk about their goodies, you folks take a look at one of our favorite moments from last week. That moment when Lily had to break the news about her grandmother's lost flute. Oh no, watch this.
I thought about telling you before you left, but I wasn't sure you were ready. But now, of all times, seems appropriate. You know you are a bard.
Yes.
You come from a long line of bards.
Yes.
Magic is in your blood.
Yes.
I was a bard myself. And I have a song to teach you that may help. Help in this battle to come. A song for your flute.
Perhaps we could do it without the flute.
Well, no lyrics to this song. It's an instrumental. But I promise you, it will be very helpful.
Perhaps it's not the time. I think Civ needs help now, and then there'll be time.
Darling. What's wrong?
I misplaced the flute.
She used it to save our lives.
You did what?
I don't have your flute, Grammy. I'm so sorry. I know you told me to keep it at all costs, and I tried, but
Oh, Lily. I'm so disappointed.
I know.
How many times have I told you? It's not the instrument. It's the song. The flute means nothing. I have
dozens of them. They're trinkets we sold. We sold them in the gift shop.
Are you
Eric,
kidding me?
Eric, would you like to give her a
kidding me
flute?
right now?
Yes,
Oh
Grammy,
my
I think we
God.
have a whole box of them back here.
Wow.
I love it.
Did you need a new one? And they hand you one that looks exactly the same.
Masterful.
Exactly the same
Masterful.
as the flute you lost.
Darling.
Does it just have like a number on it?
Made in Bingo.
That was so good. I saw Shady Sheba in chat said that moment when Jeff gave us all the middle finger, and it's kind of true. It was so funny. Jared, we heard your reaction there a little bit, but Jessica, what was your initial reaction when this was going down?
Before the reveal or when he revealed?
When
There
he
was a bunch.
revealed that it was a gift shop flute.
It was hilarious. That was the perfect way for him to do that. Yeah.
And did Fahima take in that information in the same way? Do you think Fahima also found it hilarious, or maybe was suspecting it? Like, did you have any idea?
That's a good question. I mean, I was suspecting that as a player, but
Okay.
I don't know what Fahima would have thought. I guess maybe, I don't know. I'm kind of finding the more and more I play Fahima, she's not as emotionally attached as other characters are. Like, I'm sorry to say, but when the pirates got left in the sea, everyone felt really bad and tried to save them, and Fahima was like, yikes. That's really too bad.
But if it's
But
an
we have
animal.
But if it's an animal, if,
yeah.
if it's a monster specifically,
Okay.
I would have been weeping. I don't know, and it's totally not on purpose. I just found myself kind of like, oh shoot, ooh, yikes!
Maybe you just trust animals and creatures more than you do people.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
And Jared, can you go a little bit more into your reaction when this
Well,
went
yeah.
down? Both as a player and as your character?
He got me on that one. He got me hook, line, and sinker. 'Cause we had talked about it behind scenes because there's so many people that were just obsessed with getting Lily her flute back. And we were in game. We were like, we'd go shopping and stuff and be like, hey, does anybody have a flute? Blah, blah, blah. And I think Jeff knew in the back of his mind that he wanted to save it for that moment.
Got it.
But to his credit, he did not say a word of any of that to anybody. So then when he finally revealed it, it was as if the rug got ripped out from all of us you saw our reactions. For the most part, everybody was just like, whoa, I was not. Because I thought he was gonna turn it into almost like Lily's Excalibur, Like she was gonna have to go on this epic quest to be able to get this powerful magical flute or something like that. It wasn't gonna be something that was just given to her in that moment. But that worked out so well that I almost feel like that's where Jeff really shines. That's where he I think, because he's got a lot going on. And for him to still be able to eke out those little, coming from like a dungeon master's point of view, be able to eke out those little beats or emotional moments, it's so much more effective and touching when there's a giant ball of chaos happening before and after that, and then everything quiets down. It's the same thing with like the flutes in the last episode. Everything just kind of quiets down and he goes, no, we're gonna have a moment here. I don't care what's going on in my ear and on the iPad. This is the story. This is what we're doing. And then we go back to the chaos.
Right. Well, speaking of that epic moment with the flutes, let's take a look at that now.
These last couple of hours, learning a new song on your new flute. And as the sun begins to set, and as the darkness falls on Bingo, and you all sit there with your preparation in readiness, Molotov cocktails, the prize cart, the domino wall, ready to take on whatever emerges from that ocean. Everybody sort of comes to a stop and looks at the horizon line as the sun slowly dips, and the light darkens. And you know that moment where everything is really blue? It's so blue before it gets black. That moment, everyone turns and makes eye contact with everyone else. And there's an unspoken resolve.
very briefly. I'm going to stand next to Lily, and I'm not going to say it out loud. I will use Awakened Mind to say this to her, and I'm going to pass her Claudiette's quill and say, if things go poorly, you get your family out of here.
And in that moment of blue, the sun finally sets and it's black. And you stare at the ocean and you wait. And then Lily steps forward, pulls up her flute, and starts to play. And what you hear and the rest of Bengal joins in. Her sisters, her grandmother, her father. And you feel it inside you, a rousing heroism, a feeling of purpose and strength, the song infusing in you, Uggo adding his drum, the magic of the tune building inside you as you feel a readiness you have never felt. You actually do get the effect of heroism from this song, this magical song that the Dumblestucks have forged together in this moment, with Lily at the front of them with her flute.
Oh, it is.
Temp HP every turn.
Yeah.
Pretty great. And the waiting continues, and the ocean laps, and there's a sort of fog that seems to lift up out of that ocean, and a movement that begins. You see things start to emerge out of it. Arms, heads, creatures.
That scene, I know we talked about it a little bit earlier in the show, but folks in chat are saying that this was one of their favorite scenes of the full series. Also, Jeff Canada's in chat. Hi, Jeff.
Oh, hey, Jeff.
I don't
Good
think he
to
was gonna
see
tune
you.
in.
But yeah, this moment was so epic that Jeff said that it inspired heroism in your character. Now, for those people watching who might be newer to Dungeons and Dragons, what does that mean? Do either of you feel comfortable explaining that?
Yeah, sure.
Take it away, DM.
It's a first level spell, but he kind of homebrewed the rules a little bit on it. But I think it's to a very good storytelling effect. Normally, it would be a spell that you would cast on somebody else, and they get like fearlessness, so they're not affected by fear effects or spells, and they get temporary hit points every round. So at the top of the round, they'll get an extra one. I think it's extra 1 hit point for every level of the caster, and he's giving us 5.
Whoa.
And the reason why it's cool is because I think bards are kind of cheated in D&D a lot of the time. They've gotten a lot better, don't get me wrong.
I know people that feel that way, and I
Yeah.
know people that also feel like bards are OP. So tell us your reason for bards being cheated.
Well, in the beginning, bards were incredibly weak because they were sort of this amalgamation of like a rogue and a fighter and a little bit of a spellcaster, but they weren't really good at anything. They were a jack of all trades, master of none. And now they've started to find a way to make bards effective, essentially, in 5th edition. But Jeff's taken it even a step further by having this spell effect go off because they're playing the musical instrument. It affects everyone instead of just one person, which I think is pure genius because that gives the bard an edge that other spellcasters don't. Whereas normally other spellcasters have a huge edge over a bard.
I just love homebrew rules in general.
Yeah.
I just think it's so fun. And we kind of have to in our game anyway, because we're doing something that no other show is doing. So we have to kind of figure out
And the forces
how it
of good
works.
and the forces of evil and advantages and disadvantages, that already changes the game so much compared to regular tabletop. I feel like Jeff has to homebrew his stuff just so that it actually works and flows.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got his task cut out for him. I have a question here from I am Robin Nicole in chat. Jared, since you explained that so eloquently, because you are a DM in real life, do you prefer to play D&D as a player or as a DM, and why?
Well, I don't ever normally get to play, so this is a huge treat for me. Huge. I was telling my wife that one of the things I was worried about when we had our child was that I wasn't going to get to hang out with my friends anymore. I mean, that was a legitimate fear of mine.
Yeah.
Not only because, I mean, as you know, it takes a lot of time to raise.
Playing D&D when you have a tiny human is tough.
Yeah, and on top of that, I think sometimes friends, they think, oh, well, that person's got a kid, they're too busy, I'm not even gonna see if they're available. Like you just almost get naturally kind of cut out of things, which is understandable because you're busy, you're raising a human being. I was genuinely afraid that I wasn't gonna get to hang out with my friends and game anymore. So when I got cast in this, it was like, exactly. Do not tell Alex or Vinny that, but yes, it was a huge treat for me.
Well, because now you get to play Dungeons and Dragons and say, Daddy's going to work.
Right, exactly.
It's perfect. And so let's see. I want you guys, I know we're talking about kind of how the flute brought everyone together and the emotions are real. Can you guys describe kind of things that happen in the adventures and what the relationship between the various party members at this point in the story looks like? Are there people that are closer than other people? Are there people that maybe have a little bit of an antagonistic nature towards each other? Just as you see it currently and as your characters see it currently, tell us what that landscape looks like.
It's kind of a tough question to answer because we have a lot of those moments where we say we're family, but we really don't know each other that well.
Right.
And I don't know, we were just kind of talking about how we don't really even have like a lot of inside jokes yet. Like we don't really riff like friends yet. So
I do feel like we clicked pretty fast.
Chemistry-wise, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And there have been really great dramatic moments, especially the connection between you and Lily and Uggo and Lily. But I don't know, I just still feel like Fahima has to connect with the other characters still a little more.
Well, Kaz Farron in chat says, Civ talked about his motivation. Why does Fahima stay in this group?
Fahima stays in the group because her dad is this kind of almost like legendary, maybe not quite to that level, adventurer, monster researcher. And he was always gone on expeditions, and he was always on these like amazing adventures touring the world. And so she just wants to prove that she is worthy of being his daughter and worthy of existing. And what better way than to fill up her adventure book with her own stories?
Yeah, I definitely think you have like a lot of genuine excitement and optimism into all the situations that we're going into. Whereas like Civ's sitting there going, we're gonna get killed. You're like, isn't this fun? This is the best time ever.
It's fun. The character who I auditioned with, she was very prim and proper, and she would have been like, I don't want to get my dress dirty. Oh, no, of course not. But Fahima's like, let's go, yeah.
So you're in it for the adventure, not necessarily just in it for the party members and the relationship, but for the adventure itself.
Well, one cool thing that I've been discovering along the way is that every party member aids me on my adventure. I was really jealous that James could speak to animals. I was like, why? Why does he get that power? I want them. But wait, we're friends. He can help me.
Totally.
Yes, he can help me. And that's the same for everyone, you know. What better way to go on an adventure than with a rogue who can like jump across huge, I don't know.
Buildings?
Anything. Yeah, swing on ropes, just like the heroes in my stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking to animals, what did you hope to accomplish when you touched Oha and started that?
I don't know. I wanted to feel if there was scales. I just imagine that just kind of goes along with her general recklessness of just.
I think it's instinct.
Yeah.
Your instinct is to touch. Yeah. To understand, to figure out.
Yeah.
I mean, I was sitting there just waiting with bated breath for it to do something to you so I could stab it. So I was just like, don't do that. Don't touch that thing.
Well,
you don't know what it's going to do.
One thing I do know about Genasi in general is that they believe that they are better than everyone else. They're not Genasi, genies. I misspoke. Ifriti, Marids, etc. They believe they're greater than, more so the water and the fire. And so I try to play into that a little bit with Fahima, that there is some kind of like natural thing that's happening with her race as a Genasi, that she's just fearless because that's who she was born as.
Yeah.
She's plain touched. Why wouldn't I be able to touch this creature?
Sure.
What could it possibly do to me?
And when you're talking about cool things that Fahima can do and abilities that she has, you mentioned not being able to wait until you reach level 5. Is there a specific spell or ability that Fahima's really looking forward to at level 5?
Well, I think it was.
You can tell us.
Level 5. Well, I know that I really want the spell Conjure Minor Elementals, and that comes at level 7, I think.
Okay.
That comes with, I think, a 4th level spell. I just want my little fire babies. I did all this research. I went into D&D Beyond and screenshotted all the little fire babies I could make up, the little methods, the smoke method and the lava method. I was like, I can't wait. It's gonna be so fun. 5th level. Well, I get access to Fireball, which is classic, and
awesome.
Also Melf's Minute Meteors, which is super fun.
Ooh, how does that spell work for people that don't know that spell?
That spell is you conjure 6 miniature meteors that kind of spin around, and then on your bonus action, you can 2 of them and shoot them at anyone for 2d6 fire damage each.
Yeah, and it's got a pretty good range.
It's like 120 feet or something. Yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
Very, very cool. That will be very cool when that plays out in Dungeon Run, and I'm excited for it.
Thank you.
Please go
I think the spellcasters are super excited anytime we level up because it's a whole new,
You
game.
get so much more powerful as a spellcaster
Yeah.
with every level. It's exponentially crazy to the point where it's kind of hard, I feel like, to roleplay like a level 8 or level 9 spellcaster because you're so powerful at that point.
You are still squishy though.
Yeah. Well, and one thing I also like to do.
Depending on the spells you've chosen.
So I have a question for her. Is that okay if I ask?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No. No. Wait. Ask me.
You were having a moment. I didn't want to cut in there. But if you got a chance to be on the show, if you got to make a character, what would you make? Who would you be?
Oh man. It's funny. Anytime that I play characters in Dungeons and Dragons, I either choose something very close to home or the exact opposite.
So what's
I don't know
close to
why.
home?
That's what I pendulum swing. So I would either go with a kind of outcasted wild magic sorcerer of some sort, or I would go, when I say like the opposite of me, I would probably go with something like maybe a super bulky, high constitution, high strength female dwarf.
Oh, okay.
Something like that, just like super rugged, can drink anybody under the table.
Sure.
And just go like the brute force angle, because me in real life is squishy and relies on intellect. So playing a character that is just a slasher is kind of fun.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So people in chat, speaking of in real life D&D, people in chat have been asking, the Wookiee King has a question for both of you.
Okay.
When did you both start into D&D, and what got you started?
I started 3 years ago-ish, 3.5 years ago, and I was invited to be on an all-female D&D Twitch show, just like a friend of mine was doing. And so I tell people I made all my mistakes that you make as a new D&D player on the internet, which is
Wait, like what though?
It's not, well, okay.
Were you a hobo?
I'll try to keep this short.
Did you kill anybody just because?
Not quite, but close. I played a chaotic neutral character, which is not a good way to go for your first character when you're testing the world.
No.
Wild magic sorcerer, just like all the chaos. And again, to keep it short, an NPC threatened me, and so I held a dagger up to their throat. He spat at my feet. But we were trying to be secret in a city, like trying to infiltrate, and the rest of the characters were like, why would you do that? I was like, it was my character. My character would do that. And they're like, you have control over your character as the player. What are you doing? You just ruined our whole quest. And I was like, I'm right.
I mean,
it's all on the internet.
chaotic neutral and chaotic evil are both very tough to play accurately and not have your other party members hate you.
Ever since then, I've always played good, lawful good or neutral good, chaotic
You're good at playing good.
Yeah. I just like the innocence that comes with those characters, and I think it's silly and fun.
Except for that dude that fell off the boat. We don't care about him.
Except for him. Yeah, I don't care. What was his name? Mouth gum? Oh, okay. What about you?
All right, Jared.
I've been playing for a very long time. I found these old D&D books, I think in like a used bookstore. And I grew up in Walla Walla, Washington, where there's not a lot to do, not a lot going on. And so I was, pretty nerdy into video games and what have you. And so I picked up these books and I just started reading it, not really knowing what it was, not knowing how to play. And I wanted to play so bad that I actually talked my younger brother into playing because I didn't know anybody else who played. And this is back in the day where, you can't just go online and type in, I want to be a D&D nerd and have like 20 blogs pop up and, 30 different Facebook groups or whatever.
No, you got to recruit people.
Exactly. So it was actually a very long period of time before I got to play a real game. And it was not a good experience. So it just goes to show you how much I love it that I've stuck with it for this long.
Well, very opposite experiences because you had it kind of hard and I was like immediately jumping into a Twitch show.
Which would be awesome. Yeah, I would have loved to have done that back in the day. I mean, obviously I love doing it now, so there you go.
Gordon says Jared is actually from Stranger Things. You're one of those kids. If everyone needs to imagine it. There you go.
That was definitely me.
So Nate 97497 asks to Jared, what's up with the two different accents of your Civ?
I don't know that.
Yeah,
Spoiler.
she doesn't know.
Spoiler.
Okay, well then we let that be and move on. No spoilers for Fahima.
I'll plug my ears.
It'll get revealed eventually.
I can't wait. I accidentally saw some art of whoever you met as I was scrolling on Twitter or something. I was like,
Yeah.
but it's cool.
and so that's a question that we've asked before on Dungeon Rundown, but never to you guys. Do you intentionally not watch the secret pull-aside scenes if you're doing a rewatch?
For sure. Yeah, we don't watch them.
Yeah, we agreed early on that to be able to keep our role-playing pure and not metagame, which is something that we constantly make sure that we're not doing or we try not to do. I think we've done a pretty good job. They've done an exceptional job. I think had I known, because Jeff and I were kind of over there for a while, so I think I probably would have peaked, but that's just the way Civ is.
Peaked afterwards on the recording or peaked?
Both.
Oh.
Yeah. I would have probably walked over there and listened in off to the side.
We'll cut back just to see you like doing a chair lean back real hard. That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, well, watchers of the time stream, the clock is ticking and we've got to make sure that you are ready for another run. So what do we know about our characters so far? Last week, we did learn a little bit more about Fahima. Check this out.
Hello, pleased to make your acquaintance. So.
What? What? You don't understand.
Yeah. No.
Only they understand.
What? I wonder if primordial actually sounds like.
What?
You can understand me?
What?
Friend? I am good?
That's a lie.
I'm speaking primordial.
You can't understand her.
Never mind.
Here to kill me. Do it.
I am not here to kill you. No, never.
What?
Are you okay? Do you need more water?
Fahima, is it understanding you?
Yes.
Lily's just standing there like this.
Because you can understand.
Yeah, I can understand, but I can't talk, and I'm playing back up.
Right.
What?
Not understand your words. What did it say?
Well,
What did he say?
he says he doesn't understand my words.
I don't think he speaks primordial, but you can understand him through your spell.
Oh.
It's all right.
Dang
It's all
it.
right. We've got this covered. I'm going back. Who's your master?
Yeah.
Say again.
I am not your enemy. I am not your foe. Master is Kapu.
Are you saying any of this
Yeah, are
to
you
us?
translating?
Yeah.
Saying Kapu,
He's saying he's not our enemy. He's
not our foe.
Why do
Why?
you? Why do you? Back in his head. Why do you come every night? What are you looking for?
Kapu controls army.
Kapu controls.
Kapu forces all.
Ask him where Kapu is.
Ask him what he is.
You can't just ask what people. What?
Inside mind. Kapu control all.
Are you guys relaying this?
Yes.
He's saying Kapu control. Oh, how? Ask him, James. Ask him how do we control Kapu? Or how do we
What kind
get
of?
to him?
What kind of
Where
creature?
is Kapu?
What kind of creature
He
is
said it's in his mind. He said Kapu was in his mind.
I think he means he's dominating him inside the ocean. Let me ask you this. The people you take every night, this woman's family, are they still alive?
Don't know. Soldier
You're a soldier.
forced by Kapu.
Ask him how we can defeat Kapu and help him.
How do we break the power he has over you?
And is he under power now?
Understand only stay.
Where? Where is Kapu?
Ocean. Come every night.
Kapu comes every night
Take more.
to take more.
Take
I think he's talking about his orders.
Take more.
Take more.
Are you feeling the force of Kapu now?
Free.
What does Kapu look like?
Tell us about Kapu. Is it a person? Is it a monster?
Control. Kapu. See.
He says Kapu control, Kapu sees,
Take material.
takes materials,
Parts.
hearts, bodies,
Make.
make
Or convert.
Make what?
Army.
army.
Zombie army?
Maybe.
This,
So you were right. He's a necromancer.
this island. Only
Why?
the start.
This island's only the start.
Why? Ask him why.
Shore is next. Kapu only understand strength. Kapu serves another.
If we can find a
Kapu
way,
serves another.
Kapu serves another.
Like
If
James.
we can find a way,
Kapu sound like James.
if we can find a way to break the hold he has over you and your people, you would stop these attacks.
Cut off the head.
So, what is Karpu? That's a question that we're gonna have to delve into coming up next time on the Dungeon Run. I saw Sunny D400 describe that voice like it's a baby Wookiee talking, which I thought was hilarious. And people are praising Jeff's ability to throw himself into every NPC that he does, which I think we can all agree is absolutely amazing.
That was a really good voice.
Right?
We tried to emulate and we couldn't.
Can everybody do their best impression of that voice? That was beautiful. Jessica?
No, I can't do it. It's like some
Not
kind
bad.
of glottal thing that he does.
I think that totally
French.
works.
But like trying to make it to where you can actually understand what he's saying is what's impressive.
So, Fahima, we talked about this a little bit when you were saying about how loving you are with monsters, but for each of you, Jared and Jessica, what do you admire most about your characters?
You go first.
About the other person's character or about our own?
Either would be lovely. I meant your own, but if you want to say what you admire about the other character, that's great too.
Well, one of the reasons why I wrote the poem about Fahima is because I think Civ admires the fact that Fahima can see good in anything. And that's something that Civ hasn't been able to do since he was a toddler, since he was a little child and things were good. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's huge. That's a complete shift in beliefs in your mind and where you're at mentally. As far as some things that I personally, Jared, like about Civ is that he takes risks. That is something that Jared occasionally does, but not quite to the extreme that Civ does. Civ lives in the moment and he's not afraid to risk it all at the drop of a hat for maybe not very much. And maybe he'll, get wounded or die in the process, but that's part of life. Mm-hmm. And that is not something that Jared would do.
All right. And Jessica, for you?
One thing I admire about Fahima is her, I guess she's a bit of a reflection of myself in that I am kind of down to do anything as well, like try anything twice kind of person. Ron has said that that's his mantra as well. So I don't know, that kind of reckless behavior is I don't know, it's really fun.
Lily Dumblestuck fan has a follow-up. Would Fahima sacrifice herself to save Meep? Or who is more important to her, a party member or Meep?
Why would you ask me that? Come on.
Because they want to put you on the spot.
All right, I already did this once. Okay.
Lily Dumblestuck fan says sorry.
Not forgiven. I would. I don't know. Well, okay. Here's the thing. It's not really a fair question because Meep is a phoenix. So if she dies, she's gonna come back.
Unless she's in egg form.
Right.
I know.
You tried to skirt the question.
How could you kill a little baby egg phoenix? I'm gonna think about it.
Okay. Well, you know what? We can say a lot of things going into a situation, but it's not until you're in that situation that you really know what you're gonna do. So let's hope that Jeff doesn't ever put Fahima in that
he will.
situation.
Yeah, well,
He totally will.
the more I'm reading the Celestial book, the more I'm gonna be able to understand Meep's language, and that's just gonna make me.
There's a T-shirt with Meep on it.
I know, and I have a
it's
notebook
part of the
and a-
game at this point. I think if Meep died, it would be as if part of the party died. It would be
Yeah.
on that level.
Yeah.
At least for Fahima. I don't know about the rest of us, but
It would. Yeah, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
Sherbert19 in chat, don't say that, says Jeff gonna murder Meep tomorrow probably now. No.
And you know what? I don't know where Jeff lives, so I can't hunt him down. But I should say what I admire about you, because that's only fair. Fahima admires that Civ is not how he appears, in that he looks kind of like rough and like he's, I don't know.
shady.
Yeah, he looks shady, but you just show like this profound softness, and that's just like teaching Fahima a big lesson about not judging things based on what they look like.
Yeah.
Or how they first appear.
Yeah, I think Lily was the one that said something along the lines of, you taught me not to trust people. And I was like, oh, that hurts. But then she
said it to you?
Yeah.
What'd you do to her?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just that shady. But I think, I get what you're saying, but I think that's kind of that's Civ in a nutshell, is that he looks like this horrible person and he has probably been a part of some nasty stuff, but he's trying to change his ways. And I think it's nice to hear that you guys have seen that.
I really want to know now what you've done. I want to know what the line is. Like, how bad have you been that we would still forgive you?
Jeff knows.
Yeah?
Yeah.
To be learned on a future episode of The Dungeon Run. Thank you, everyone in chat, for all of your amazing comments. And you have also been creating some really fantastic fan art since the beginning of the series. So check out some of this work by Scott Braytek. See, you guys can check it out over there. Look at how awesome that is.
Good. There you are.
What do you think about those? Is that how you guys picture Fahima and Civ, respectively?
Oh yeah, I have that art hanging up in my apartment.
Yeah.
Nice.
So beautiful, and there's a little meep at the top too, a little flame. It's so pretty.
Yeah. I take a lot of the people's artwork and kind of create like an amalgamation inside my mind of what Civ looks like. Because I had a very clear picture in the beginning, but then all this beautiful artwork started coming through. And I was like, ooh, I like that, I'm gonna steal that. Ooh, I like that too,
cool.
I'm gonna keep that. So like the thing that I think he nailed in that particular picture of Civ is that he's got kind of a oily roughness. Like he looks like he's seen some stuff, he's been through some stuff. There's like a weird blood spray across his...
It's very mature in that one too, but you're quite young, yeah?
I am young, yeah. That's one thing that I think a lot of people assume because of the way that I act and carry myself and talk, that my character is older than what he actually is.
I thought you were like a decade older than me.
He's actually 19 going on 20.
So
wow. Well, again, you can't judge based on appearance.
I know. He's only a year older than Fahima.
Yeah.
Look at the difference in these two.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's what happens when you grow up on the streets compared to growing up inside of like a nice cozy house.
Ain't that the truth?
I had problems. I didn't.
Well, yeah, I mean, that fan art then is kind of another way for the community to influence the story then, if you're taking from what they've done. So, folks, if you've got fan art out there that you want to share, make sure to go ahead and submit it on our fandom site, thedungeonrun.fandom.com, and upload it to our fan art page so that maybe we can share it on a future episode of Dungeon Rundown. Okay, so let's talk predictions. What do viewers have to look forward to on the next episode? And what do you guys think is going to happen on tomorrow night's episode?
Well, we're gonna beat the bad guys. We have to, right?
In theory.
Right? Do you think we've seen all the bad guys at this point, or might there be another surprise?
I think just the fact that Jeff said there's many more creatures to come, that he was hinting at the fact that if we don't get rid of the Kopru fast enough, there's going to be more stuff coming out of the sea. So there's definitely a timeline or a fuse that has been lit that we need to cut off before, things really hit the fan.
Well, and I'm also kind of scared because the next big thing we have to do potentially is go find the warden that we were heading towards in the first place.
Right.
And as we've seen, whoever is holding that warden has such crazy power, and as we level up, the bad guys get worse, and so that's going to be...
Jeff's definitely taken the difficulty level from the beginning of the game to now, like he's bringing it up a notch every single episode.
Which I love.
Right, I do as well. And in the beginning, I thought, we're just going to be able to destroy anything because we constantly have advantages and this is too easy. But I feel like Jeff kind of wanted that to kind of give us a moment of like growth.
Yeah.
Give us a moment to like click and get comfortable. And then he started to, slowly reel us in to sink his claws into us at moments that we aren't going to expect. And that's that's something that I look forward to. And the fans have also spoken too, and that's why disadvantages exist now.
They do.
So people are able to, people are able to even the playing field and throw out a force of evil if they really want to make it hard on us. And I definitely think that it's gotten a lot more challenging.
Yeah, and I like the challenge. It makes it feel more like a real game to me. But I mean, I play a fire elemental person, so we're going into more water, which that does not bode well.
Yeah. I'm a cat.
And that's true. Yeah. And I purposefully choose fire spells because it makes sense for my character, but sometimes I think like, I really should maybe not do that because it's not gonna help, but.
Well, maybe you have like 1 or 2 spells that aren't fire spells just so you have something to cast.
There's always Magic Missile.
There you go.
Good old standby.
So PH Mike on PH Mike 5 in chat says, so tomorrow you guys better roll well and use good tactics or you're done. No pressure.
Well, we'll all be done except for Fahima because I have a pet phoenix.
Oh, there you go. I have a few tricks up my sleeve that I think Jeff might have forgotten about that I'm going to try to. I don't want to say.
Don't spoil it.
Tell us later.
But surprises.
Yeah, some things that I think might help turn the tide. And I also think, I mean, we're on the verge of leveling up too. I also think that there's a good chance that Uggo is going to take this thing to task if Kopru doesn't bring in some of his forces. Because right now they're going toe-to-toe, which you don't go toe-to-toe with an orc barbarian. That's just,
It's wild.
Yeah, exactly. Who does that?
Who does that?
Yeah. So I think Jeff has some more tricks up his sleeves, but I also think that he's got a ticking time bomb as well when it comes to how much damage we can deal in a short amount of time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And thus far, no one's been controlled by the Kopru yet, which I was expecting.
Yeah, knock on wood.
I thought somebody was going to get mind controlled. I thought it was going to be me, personally.
Yeah, because you got taken last time.
I know. I've fallen for harpies. I could fall for weird fish monsters.
Because you're such a romantic.
I know.
You fall for anyone. You're easily charmed.
I like this pseudo-sibling relationship going on right now between the two of you, and we'll see if that carries over to Civ and Fahima.
Are we actually siblings?
Dun, dun, dun! The backstory's real. Awesome. Well, another phantasmal epic tabletop role-playing conversation in the books for Dungeon Rundown. A huge thank you to this week's guests, straight from the game, our Civ, Jared Kjack, and Fahima, Jessica Lynn Parsons. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yay! And to you, of course, our watchers of the time stream, our runners, be sure to be here on Caffeine tomorrow, Wednesday at 6 p.m. for an all-new episode of the Dungeon Rundown. I am your host and fellow D&D lover, Trisha Hershberger. Thank you all so much for tuning in, everyone, and good night.